Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Chrisday Natalia Hutabarat, a student at the Asia Cyber University Communication Studies program. Okay. Today, we are honored to have Mrs. Jenny with us. Mrs. Jenny is an experienced English teacher with a wealth of knowledge in the field of English language education. With years of experience teaching English, Mrs. Jenny has worked with a wide range of students and has seen firsthand how English language education has evolved in Indonesia over the years. Today, we'll be discussing the method and approach used in teaching English, as well as exploring the development of foreign language education in Indonesia. We are excited to hear the insights that Mrs. Jenny will share with us today. Without further ado, let's begin the discussion. Mrs. Jenny, thank you for being here with us.
Thank you as well, Miss Chrisday.
Yeah, let's start by asking about your experience as an English teacher.
Okay.
Okay, for the first, could you start by telling us about your background as an English teacher? How long have you been teaching, and what motivates you to pursue teaching English?
Okay, then I'm going to introduce myself first. I'm Jenny Emily Sinaga. I was graduated from the Faculty of Teacher Training in 2024 from Namensen University, and it's almost about like over 10 years I teach, but most of the experience is just like teaching the English young learners. Anyway, I choose to teach the young learners because it's fun and challenging, and I think like it is easier. Their brain still easily to accept the new language to be implemented in their life, and yes, I will choose English because it is at that moment back in 2014. Let me remember first. 2010. I think English is a little bit easy for me, so I choose the major which is easier for me.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Jenny. Now, what age groups or types of students have you taught English to? How has your approach varied depending on the students group?
I am teaching in grade 4, which is 10 years old right now, but in the afternoon I teach the young learners, which is year 2, or we can call it grade 2. So for grade 4, actually the approach is kind of like make it to reality, telling them what is this implemented in reality later, and talk about something real. Because if we talk about like fiction to them, they are not really like interested. But for the young learners, like kindergarten to year 1, year 2, or grade 1, grade 2, the approach to introduce them English is by games, playing games, and also telling something extraordinary. They don't like something real, like ordinary one. They will find something like that the unicorn that can fly, which is to the fiction one. That is the approach that I implement to the kids for the young learners, which is the extraordinary games and then the fun talking. But for the grade 4, which is already like going to teenagers, they love something that real, that implemented to their life.
Okay.
That's it.
So, what teaching methods or strategies do you find most effective when it comes to teaching English to non-native speakers, Miss Jenny?
For the English as not really second, but foreign language, right? The one that implemented the best that I did is playing games and then role play.
Role play like that.
Role play effective ones for their writing as well later, and for their speaking, because anyway I think that speaking is the most important first. The other will follow.
Are there specific challenges you face when teaching English, especially with students who might have limited exposure to language outside the classroom?
Usually the challenge is just some of the student doesn't have their confidence to speak English, so we need to boost their confidence that you can do it only, something like that so far. And then the one that I mentioned before, if the speaking is already good, the other skills anyway will follow.
So now, how have you seen to approach English language education evolve in Indonesia over the years? Have you noticed any change in curriculum or teaching practice, Mrs. Jenny?
Anyway, I'm not really know what's the curriculum of Indonesian implemented to the school, because I was just when in Pematang Center only, when it is like the practice before the graduation. I entered the school with the national curriculum like that, but so far because I was teaching until right now, I have been teaching for the school that never applied the national curriculum anyway, because I'm teaching in that implemented sometimes Singaporean curriculum, something like that, sometimes like the British, which is IB curriculum. So I will compare with my experience when I was in my school then. So actually, like nowadays, the interest of the students to the English, I think, is getting increased because they see their potential, the effectiveness of the use English in their life. So nowadays, let's check National Plus School, which is implemented the Indonesian curriculum plus the foreign curriculum a lot around us right now. Even in the small city like the Pematang Siantar, the closest city to my hometown is Pematang Siantar. Even in Pematang Siantar also, like there are a lot of schools that implemented the National Plus curriculum already, which is Indonesian curriculum mixed with implemented from foreign language for taking the English as their daily communication, but still using the national curriculum for their future, of course, that will still in Indonesia, something like that. Still of great.
Thank you for your opinion, Miss Jenny. So now, how do students' attitude towards learning English differ compared to a few years ago?
The students' attitude, sorry? Is that the students' attitude?
Yes. How do students' attitude towards learning English differ compared to a few years ago?
A few years ago, the students' attitude really like, English really as a foreign language. Like, yes, I just learned this one, done. And then I just passed the test, done. But nowadays, the learner's attitude is very really impressive. Like, we appreciate that because they really want to, like, it is like, how is it to say that? They don't shy anymore. They feel it's not embarrassing anymore to speak English in daily life. But for years back, if we speak English in our daily life, like, oh my God, we're Indonesian, why you need to speak English? Something like that. But nowadays, the learners already boost their confidence. Like, learning English is very good right now for my daily life, not only future, but my daily life to talk with others or to talk with strangers, or just to make like style to talk in talking like that.
Apart from English, how do you view the teaching of other foreign languages in Indonesia? Are there emerging trends in foreign language education that you find noteworthy?
From the other country, you mean, Miss? The implemented from other country?
Yes, like Mandarin or Japanese.
Oh, actually, for us Indonesian students, I think the old style still the best for the students. I mean, like practice a lot. And for the foreign curriculum that can be complemented to Indonesian curriculum is just maybe the speaking more than tenses more. Right now maybe tenses writing like that, but they just read the sentence that they write, but never implemented the idea that they need to share with others. But maybe I think it's still good, the writing, the tenses and this one, but need to implement from the IB. This is from IB curriculum, which is from British IB, yes, international, not really British, but the IB one implemented the speaking more. Speaking more. So we need to implement that to our curriculum as well. So not only the textbook, like that.
Okay, Mrs. Jenny. So, how has the use of technology such as language learning application or online resources changed the way English is taught in your experience?
The English application is very helpful for us in nowadays. Like, it's really interesting to show the picture, not only talking like that. And the students also usually, there are a lot of applications, and the famous one is Duolingo, something like that. It's really helpful for the teaching as well, and then for the foreign language as well. And also for the one that maybe not really confident, or like we call it introvert, to talk with strangers to use English, they can use the application like that. That download maybe AI, the one that can talk as well to us. I think it's very helpful to the teachers nowadays.
I agree with your opinion. So,
Yeah.
do you believe that technology has made teaching more accessible and engaging for students, or does it introduce new challenges?
Using technology is a very useful, 100% helpful as well, because if I teach, if I don't bring laptop, it means like there will be no technology. The students will like, where's your laptop? Where's the projector remote? Something like that. And like, their face will be like, why only book? Like that. They will be like, not really interested. But when I bring my laptop and then book and then projector remote, like, yay! Their face like real hype. The hype is different. So it's really helpful and also entertain as well. Because we use technology not only for teaching, but the students start from 7 until 1 o'clock, they're gonna be here. We as adults also cannot study that much. So sometimes we use technology to refresh their mind first. Not really related to that one, but using technology, we can make them refresh again, because we know that even we cannot stand until 7 to 1 o'clock to learn. How about them, right?
Okay. Looking forward, what improvements or innovation would you like to see in the teaching of English in Indonesia?
Sorry?
Looking forward, what improvements or innovation would you like to see in the teaching of English in Indonesia? Miss Jenny?
The innovation that I want to see to Indonesia is like, I think still back again, I'm still in my principle speaking one. Yes, there's a lot of way to make them speaking project. We have lack of project. Usually it's just science project, and others English project is less. Just make them project, present it, invite the parents, and then done like that. I hope so.
And what advice would you give to English learner who want to improve their language skills, particularly in Indonesian context?
In Indonesia context is just practice first as usual, and then through the video, through making your short video, and then if you are like the one that extrovert, you can upload it. If you're someone that introvert, you can keep it, or you just talk to yourself in front of the mirror, and then you just read a lot of book to gain a new vocabulary, and then just find partner to talk with, which is also that support each other. Just find someone that support each other to build the confidence, and then partner to have a good conversation as well.
Okay,
Even though even though it's not right, the grammar is wrong, at least they are trying. So they need to push their confidence first to do that practice. That's it.
Finally, do you have any doubts on how we can continue improving foreign language education in Indonesia in general?
Sorry, do you have any?
Do you have any doubts on how we can continue improving foreign language education in Indonesia in general?
We just need to build the mindset of the people, of the students as well. That people that talk English is not like something like flexing. Because sometimes when I see the social media, someone they talk English, and then the comment like, "Oh my God, we live in Indonesia. Why you need to talk English like that? Oh my God, you're just flexing like that." But they don't know their background. Maybe they learn from their basic, from the primary school, from kindergarten. Maybe they learn English only, and then when they speak that one to the public, and then the comment like that, like negative. So anyway, we need the others mindset as well, Indonesian people as well, that nowadays English, we can say it not really our foreign language, hopefully our second language like Malaysia. So we also can grow the country as well, as we grow the students and as we grow the mindset, the adult mindset as well growing. So I think our country will also grow like our neighbor country. So we see English is not like language, but we see English also the one that possibility that can change our country as well, and also ourselves.
Okay, your advice to English learners is very useful. It's important to learn the language in real life context, like through regular conversation in our media. Like that. Thank you so much, Mrs. Jenny, for taking the time to share your valuable insights with us today. Your views on the teaching of English and the development of foreign language education in Indonesia have been extremely enlightening. It's clear from our discussion that teaching English is both challenging and rewarding, and the way language education is evolving in Indonesia is something we all can be proud of. Your perspective on the role of technology in future improvements will certainly inspire many educators and students. Before we conclude, do you have any final tips or advice for students and teachers looking to improve their English skill, or for those interested in pursuing a career in language education?
Looks like an adult that give advice to the young learners. Please practice your English, and then to the teachers. I also taught this one to myself years back, and then to the students also that learning English as a major. Please practice more, because years back I think that I thought that my English was good. And then when I came here, and because my basic right now I live in Jakarta, when I came here, the students speak English even better than me. So I need to practice. So we also, and my friends that's gonna be a English teacher in the future or maybe years later, let's practice our English together in various ways. So we are not, we don't lose our capacity as a teacher than the learners nowadays, because they are like really very fluent right now. I hope let's learn together.
Okay, once again, thank you for joining us today, Mrs. Jenny. We wish you continue your success in your teaching career, and we hope that the future of English education in Indonesia continues to grow and thrive. That's all for today's interview. We appreciate your time, and we look forward to seeing the positive change you're helping to bring about the language education. Thank you, and have a great day, Ms. Jenny.
Thank you as well, Miss Chrisday. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Siva, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking the time for watching my presentation video today. My name is Chrisday Natalia Hutabarat, and I am very excited to be here to share the results of my interview with Mrs. Jenny about English education in Indonesia. In this session, we will discuss the results of a brief interview about English education in Indonesia based on the perspective of an English teacher in Indonesia, Mrs. Jenny. I hope this presentation provides valuable insights and sparks a productive discussion. Let's get started! What is the first thing I do when I become the interviewer? First of all, I greet the guest speaker and the audience warmly and talk about the topic that will be discussed. For example, hello and welcome everyone. How are you all? Thank you for being here with us today. I do this to break the ice and create a comfortable space for both the interviewer and the guest. Then I introduce myself as the interviewer, such as my name is Chrisday Natalia Hutabarat, a student of the communication program at Asia Cyber University. After that, I introduce the guest speaker and describe their job as an English teacher, such as I would like to introduce our guest speaker, Mrs. Jenny, an experienced English teacher who has been teaching for over 10 years. After the introduction, I begin the interview by inviting Mrs. Jenny to share her experience and background in teaching English. So, Mrs. Jenny then began to share her teaching background and the reasons why she chose to teach English. First, Mrs. Jenny graduated from the Faculty of Teacher Training in 2024 from the mentioned university. She chose to teach English because she found it easier and more interesting since 2010. And most of her teaching experience is with young learners, especially at the elementary school level. I also asked Mrs. Jenny about the methods and approach she used in teaching English to young learners, as well as the challenge she faced when teaching English. For the first, Mrs. Jenny explained that she teaches 10-year-old students in grade 4 and younger learners in grade 2. The teaching method Mrs. Jenny used for younger students is uses games and stories about fantastical creatures to keep them engaged. And for older students, she focused on practical and real-life topics that you can relate to. And Mrs. Jenny also mentioned that one of the challenges she often faced in the lack of confidence in students when speaking English. It's important to encourage them to brave and try. After learning about the methods and challenges Mrs. Jenny faced when teaching young learners, then I asked her opinion on the development of English education in Indonesia. Mrs. Jenny said that students' interest in English has grown as more people realize how important the language is in daily life. When I asked how the curriculum in Indonesia affects the development of English teaching in the country, Mrs. Jenny explained that more and more schools are adopting the National Plus curriculum, which combines the Indonesian curriculum with foreign curricula, such as the Singaporean curriculum or the International Baccalaureate or IB curriculum. And Mrs. Jenny also mentioned that the school where she teaches no longer follows the national curriculums, but has adopted an international curriculum. So, how has students' attitude toward learning English changed? In Mrs. Jenny's opinion, In the past, students taught English as just a subject to pass tests. But now, students are more confident and view English as an essential skill for both their future and daily life. Then I asked Miss Jenny for her opinion in the impact of technology in English language learning. In her opinion, she believes that English learning apps are very helpful, especially for shy or introvert students. Using technology like language apps and tools like Duolingo makes learning more engaging for students. And then, students are more interested when technology is involved in the learning process. After discussing the impact of technology on language teaching, then I asked Miss Jenny to share her hopes for the future of English language learning in Indonesia. Mrs. Jenny hopes there will be more English-based projects in schools where students can present their ideas. She also suggests focusing more on speaking skill rather than just grammar in the curriculum. Before I close the interview session with Mrs. Jenny, I also asked her for any tips or steps she could share for students who are learning English. The tips that Mrs. Jenny shares are: the first, Mrs. Jenny encourages students to practice regularly and use English in their daily life. Number 2, practice can be done by speaking in front of a mirror, making short videos, or talking with supportive friends. And last, even if grammar isn't perfect, the important thing is to try and building confidence. At the end of the interview, Mrs. Jenny reminded the teachers to keep practicing their own English to stay effective in teaching. And last, I would like to thank Mrs. Jenny for the time she has given, and I hope this interview can inspire educators and students to keep growing. So, that concludes my interview with Mrs. Jenny about English education in Indonesia. As a closing for this presentation, I would like to thank Mrs. Siva for the opportunity and also to everyone who has listened. I hope we can continue to grow together. Thank you and see you next time. Bye!